Yeah, man. Party down the street, dive bar, hella people. Let's go. I'm like,
What's up, Uprisers? I'm Rebecca with Upheaval Festival, and this kicks off our interview series, getting to know the artists that are going to grace our stages this July. Today, we're talking to Ayron Jones, who's playing Friday, July 19th. Let's get into it.
hey,
Hello.
what's going on? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Living the American dream or something like it. I'm not sure yet. We'll see what time it is.
We are super stoked to have you back. You played in 2022, I think.
Yep.
Um, and you had a pretty memorable set. Wild time up on the hill.
It was great. It was wonderful.
The energy was super good for your set.
It was great. It was really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So I think the great thing about festivals is you get people who are super stoked to see their favorite artists, and then there's this level of discovery.
Yeah.
So there's going to be people that are very familiar with you, probably saw you last time, and then we've got people that are just being introduced to you. So I kind of want to talk about your story a little bit, how you got into music, and
Yeah.
some of your inspirations.
Most people know my background. If you know who I am, you know that like I came from a bit of a troubled background, raised by a single parent with three other kids, who wasn't my mom. I was raising somebody else's family, as a family member, but still, in a separate family. And so yeah, I got into music really early on because my aunt, who was raising me, was really into. Her husband was a traveling musician. He had been touring and played with a bunch of different bands around the world. So that really gave me the bug to really want to do that. And a little unbeknownst to me until I got older, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I had a little bit of music influence, didn't I? But yeah, so I got into music early on. And then when I got into school, I really started getting into like learning music theory through violin. And then I picked up the guitar at 13, and then that became kind of my obsession. I just got really, really, really into it. Especially in the era where the digital era wasn't quite a thing yet. I'm like a little kid, just obsessed. I had to listen to this. And they had YouTube. They have YouTube now, but back in the day, we used to just like listen to the record and try to play it back. And that's how you learn how to play guitar. It was like listening to the record, play it back. There's no one to show you how to do it unless you get into like Guitar Center to buy a DVD, and some dude was like, "Oh, this is how you do this shit, bro. Like, you do this like this, bro." Some stringy haired metal dude, and then but my big start in terms of music really came. I was playing around Seattle for a long time, just little clubs and stuff. And by the time I turned 21, I was able to like get a band together and just start doing three-piece like little jam sessions here all over town and make a little bit of money and keep doing that week by week. And soon enough, it kind of became, my job was over here and this was like my side thing. And then my side thing kind of became the consumer of the job. And so I quit my job and eventually started just playing music. And one of the first place I played was called Escada Bistro here in Seattle, and that's how I got in with the Hendrix family. And so the Hendrix family gave me my start as a musician in Seattle. It kind of just gave me an opportunity to keep growing and learning. And then the Hendrix family also was responsible for my first big gig, which was when I got the call to work with a group called Deep Cotton, who was a part of Janelle Monáe's label. So we were opening for Janelle Monáe. And so that was my beginning as a guitar player, was opening for Janelle Monáe with this group and being a part of that label and that house, and it was beautiful. And just being around Janelle and her energy at the time, it was what because we were on tour while they were opening for Fun, or it was Fun was opening for them, or vice versa. I don't remember who was the opener, who was the closer, but we were on this college tour with these guys, and it just hit so hard, and I just remember being so influenced by what Janelle was doing, that
Mhm.
actually when they gave me the call to come and be the permanent guitar player for this group, and moved to Atlanta, I turned it down because I wanted to pursue my own thing. And then I came home, and then by the time 2013 came, or 2011, 2012 came, I'd still been playing clubs and stuff and doing my thing. And then I got discovered by Sir Mix-a-Lot, who produced my first record, my first independent record. And that opened the door for me to open up for a bunch of different acts that would come through town, like BB King, and I got to open for Jeff Beck, and I got to open for Robin Trower and Walter Trout, and some of these big legendary names, Los Lonely Boys.
Mhm.
I got to open for Guns N' Roses and work with Royal Blood and all these cats. And then 2017 or 2020 was the first time I got signed. So then 2017 came. Sorry, I'm skipping steps here, but 2015 came, and then I recorded another record with the drummer from Screaming Trees, Barrett Martin. And so that kind of is what set me on a path. And then that is what set me up to get my first major deal in 2020. And I got signed by Big Machine in 2020. And the rest was history. Immediately started seeing my stuff on the charts. Went number four, and then I think number four, number one, and then number two. And then we had some top 15, top 20s, and then went number one again, and then number one in France, number one in Germany.
Yeah, you've been crushing it.
Yeah,
Two
it's been good.
albums, a bunch of chart toppers. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's been good, man. It's been good. It's been good.
Do you have a favorite part about playing festivals? Like, is there anything different from playing like a club show?
Yeah, the vibe, man, it's just different. At a club show, you maybe around one or two bands. I think at a festival show though, you're around a bunch of different bands and people that you not having just like you've played with or that you've heard of or whatever, like that. It's like always. So I'm gonna adjust my mic here. It's you're always around some people and I think that's the big difference between the club shows versus the big festival shows. It's like you're around this whole it's a vibe. I don't know, man. It's like a feeling. It's an energy. It's different, and whereas at the club show, it's like, I just came off a big club tour in France, and that's just all about me. It's all around me and everything.
Mhm.
And it's like, whereas like I feel like you're at a festival, it's about just the moment, and so it's a little different.
You really like France and Paris, don't you?
I think they like me. That's kind of part of it, like I think regardless of how I feel about them, I do like them, but I
Uh-huh.
think they like me, and that's kind of why it's become what it is these days.
So when you're there, do you get to see any of the rock scene, like local rock scene, or no?
More or less, there's just not much of a rock scene. You know what I'm saying? Like there
So
there
when
are there are cities for sure that have rock scenes in them. But there's not much of a I wouldn't say Paris, for instance, is like not a big rock city, but there's some rock to be had.
Yeah, so when you're there, like they're pumped because there's
Mhm.
not much going on.
There's not it's funny, man. There's a lot of music there. There's a lot of pop music. They have like it's so funny because American music has influenced everyone around the world in such a big way that now the music it's so interesting. Like drill music, for instance, is like it's a worldwide thing. You can hear Japanese drill, you can hear English drill, French drill, or whatever. So there's a lot of music going on. I just think that for rock is just not the biggest thing there. Nah. So when I get there, it's like I think, and also my brand of rock is just probably different. It probably
Mhm.
reminds them of a different era or time. And I think that I'm lucky because just having the R&B and soul background, it really helps to bring it all together and still be, for people to not just in Europe but also in America too, to really appreciate like that kind of rock music.
It's interesting because your childhood growing up and then, having all these connections with Hendrix's and Sir Mix-a-Lot
Yeah,
is like kind of crazy to hear. And it is like you were meant to take this path. Like
yeah.
you were meant to get to this point. And I'm just curious if there was ever a moment where, like, did you think, was this your plan to do this full time? Did you want this to be your career? Or is this
I
something that you had like a moment like, oh, I can do this?
I did, man. For me, I always thought to myself, that I wanted to do this. I wanted to be an entertainer, and I also wanted to get into acting and stuff too. That was a more academic path though, and as an academic, I was super ADD and distracted in school. My teacher's like, "Oh, he's really smart, but he doesn't do shit." Like, you know, they're like, "He's hyper intelligent, but he doesn't follow through with his work." And they're like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, he's got issues, ADD." And I didn't, and my aunt didn't believe medication, for little kids. So I just kind of
Right.
had to go through school and just deal with it. So I didn't, that was a more academic path for me, but it was either acting or it was going to be music or both. And I never fit in this like 9 to 5 world, and
Hmm.
it never, I still don't. I don't like people telling me what to do. I have a problem with authority. Like I have all the things that you need to work a regular job. I just like I rebel against. And
Not
so,
for you.
but for me, it was always about creating my own path, and that's why my first band, like when I first got started, my band was called Ayron Jones and the Way, right? Because I was always
Hmm.
creating my own path through my music. And so I was always creating my own path. And finally, like even as a little kid, I would start like a dog walking business to make some money. And I did that and made some good money doing that as a little kid. And as a teenager, I did, Google AdWord, which is where you buy ad space and then you get commissioned for selling things off of a link, you know. And so I did that,
Hmm.
made a little bit of money off of that, you know. I did all sorts of stuff, you know. And so it really I never was really on the path to do anything but either music or something in the creative world, and music was just my obsession, and that's why it was just like the path for me, you know. And I was always obsessed with these old blues dudes who were like these old gangsters that became musicians, and you know, I love that's why I love hip hop too. You know, it's the same spirit, and so I was always just like wanted to be a part of that legacy, that story of music, you know.
I thought it was impressive that you got that offer to join Janelle's band
Mhm.
and you saw their passion and you're like, nah, I actually want to go my own way
Yeah.
and take that momentum and focus on my own career. And
Yeah, that was like the a turning point for me because I really could have done that. I mean, and it could have been a
mhm,
different path, but it was like a turning point. Like it was like either you're gonna do this for yourself or you're always gonna be the backup guitar player for someone else, you know?
yeah, I think you kind of need that to get to the point that you're at now. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
worked
It
well.
worked out pretty well, man. Worked pretty well.
Yeah. So your music is very honest and authentic, and I think these past two albums have kind of taken us through your story. Were you ever hesitant about being so honest about your life through your music, or is that just been a no-brainer for you?
No, it's I was always just really honest about my music, right? Like even as a little kid writing poetry, I would always like talk about my story, you know, and I think that that just carried on into my adulthood and found its way into my music. And I think that it was the only way to do it, honestly. I mean, what's the
Mhm.
point if we're not gonna bare our hearts and our souls as artists? What are we doing? You know, are we just like
Right.
faking it or what? You know, and so
Hmm.
there's no point for me, there's no point in like putting a record out or putting a song out if it's not going to be from my heart and be able to connect with other people in that way. You know, I really wanted to make sure that everyone who's ever gone through the same thing I've gone through could feel what I feel, you know, and then know that they have somebody out there that hears them and listens to them, you know. Like a lot of America's a funny place, man, because we like to tuck stuff under the rug,
Yep.
pretend like we don't our shit doesn't stink, so to speak, you know. And for me, it's like it's part of why I love this country is that we are a bunch of, you know, outcasts. You know what, that's what this country's founded on. I mean, we you know, I was talking to my daughter recently about this, and she's like, "Oh yeah, they're teaching us in school how, you know, America was founded by the Pilgrims and they came here for a new opportunity." I was like, "No, that's not why they came here." And she goes, "Why? That's what they tell us in school." I said, "They came here because they were hyper religious and crazy and they got kicked out of England. That's what happened, you know." And so like we've always been the country of outcasts, the weirdos that kind
Mhm.
of just like had this weird, they were like, "Oh, there's a new place for you guys," you know. And so
Right.
so I always just embrace that American spirit, you know, that like we are the ones that get knocked down and stand up and triumph no matter what. I mean, that's just kind of like our role as Americans, and that's I think that's
Mhm.
part of why we embody that spirit is because we are just like we're the outcasts. We're not supposed to be as good as we are. We're not supposed to be the best at what we do, and we're not, you know, we do get kicked around and knocked down. And then yeah, that kid over there got abandoned, and that kid over there, his
Mhm.
mom was a crackhead, but it doesn't matter. That kid could grow up to be president someday. You know, it doesn't matter, and that's what America's about to me. You know.
Yeah, and that kid could grow up to be you, so
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Then a national rock star, as they say.
yeah, exactly. So you released your newest album, Chronicles of the Kid, last
Yep.
June.
Mhm.
And I believe that Blood in the Water hit number one.
Yep. Yeah, I did. It
How does it feel to have that released and hitting that milestone?
feels great. It feels really good. I'm glad to get the record out. I am really happy that you know we got another number one. I mean, in 4 years and two records, man, 3 years and two records. Really, it's
Impressive.
crazy. It's mind boggling to, you know, like just from my first record, major record deal on, you know, we just been hitting home runs the whole time, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm going to carry that work and continue that on to the next thing, which I'm already working on right now. Just trying to kind of get the next one going. You know.
Already working on a new album?
Already working on some new stuff, laying the groundwork at least. You know, I can't say we're working just yet, but the groundwork's
Yeah,
being laid and conversations are being had and some things are happening right now. So yeah.
very nice. It never stops.
It doesn't, man. You know, I'm the kind of person too. Like for me, when I write music, when I get into playing music and I write just write music, it's a mode for me, right? Like
Mhm,
I may not be like because these tours we do are pretty heavy, you know, like it's a lot of moving and we don't have a van or like we don't have like a bus. You
mhm.
know, like a lot of times cats get on the bus, they grab their guitars and they're writing while they're going to different shows and stuff. And like we
Right.
don't we don't have that. You know, we have we have like a van, and you're too tired because you have to like sleep and wake up and sleep and wake up and then play a
Mhm.
show, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, pack your shit, put it in the car, and then leave again. And it's this big cycle. Whereas in a bus, you just kind of you're stationary and you can stay in one place, and people have an opportunity to write and do those things. So for me, it's been a mode. Like when I get home off a tour and I've been sitting and I've finally like gotten to the place where like it's time to start writing a new record. I get into a headspace where it's like it's game time, and so that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. It's like I'm home right now. There's not too much on my docket in terms of touring, except for some of these festivals and stuff we're doing, going back to Europe. And for me, it's just time. It's time to get started on this next thing.
So your writing process, you're someone that kind of has to sit down and take yourself away from the madness, or can you just start writing wherever?
No, I got hell no. I gotta get away from the madness, man. I'm too ADD for that. I'd be like wanting to party and kick it. I'd be like,
Oh
oh yeah, just want to hang out. Yes, let's do it.
yeah.
We're doing it. I want to kick it and party. I'm easily distracted if I'm
Hmm.
sitting there writing and you hit me up and you're like, yeah, man, party down the street, dive bar, hella people. Let's go. I'm like, I'm
You're like,
done with this. Fuck this. I'm out.
yeah.
I'm dipping. Let's dive bar. That's where I'm at right now. So
No
I can't.
concentration on writing
No,
there.
hell no, dude. I'll be gone. I'll be ready to party in a moment's notice, drink or whatever, man. So I definitely gotta kind of put myself in the environment for it, and then also
Mhm.
give myself the space, knowing that I am the kind of person I am that like is very much like I do want to be out experiencing life too. I gotta give myself the time to do it too. So
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, let's sit on this song for 9 hours. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm like, let's do 5 hours today, call it a break, and do 5 hours tomorrow, and like give ourselves a chance.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like when you spend so much time, writing something, leaving it and taking a break and then coming back to it kind of gives you a fresh perspective on it.
Yeah, take a bite.
Thank you.
Ow.
What is that?
It's a maple bar, duh.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Go on.
that your favorite donut?
Maple bar, hell yeah, that's my favorite of all. You know why it's my favorite though? You ever had something your parents would never let you have, and you
Yes,
would
they know.
sneak it every now and again, and then
Yeah.
it becomes like your thing. Now it's like now that you're an adult, you're like, I can get as many of these as I want. That's how I feel about maple bars and coffee.
Anything maple with coffee is
Yes,
good
it
move.
goes. It just
Yes, it
goes.
goes so
It
well.
goes. It's much. I will say that French pastries, bar none, they're really pumped about their food, by the way. And they should be. There's some food of theirs that's really great, but they're not a big spice culture. You know what I'm saying? So like they don't
Mhm.
really focus on spices so much as they focus more on just like mixing stuff together, right? So it'll be like
Mhm.
an infusion of things, right? Where we're like in America, we're just like, yo, throw some hot sauce on that bitch.
Yes. Yes. One
Okay.
of our fans wanted to ask what the inspiration was behind Blood in the Water.
Yeah, so for me, after getting signed and like seeing these things, that first record especially was really what threw me on the map, right? Like, I got thrown to mainstream. I mean, it kind of did this, and then it kind of tapered out, and then it found a balance. And so now we're just doing kind of this wavy thing. But like when I
Mhm.
came out, it shot up
Yeah.
immediately. You know, uh, Joe Rogan tweeted about me, and like all these things were happening. I saw some dude mention my name on MSNBC, and I was like being talked about in all these elite circles in entertainment. And so all of a sudden here I am at the top of the world, and it just kept happening, right? That was on my first song, which is only like that was my top five, but not even a number one. And then I went number one after that, and then I got on tour, and like I see all these things are happening. I'm nominated for iHeart Music Award, and all these things are happening for me.
Mhm.
And I find myself in this place where I realize that like um a mother and father never had a chance or never were going to be able to physically see me where I'm at today or what I'm going to do next. And so
Mhm.
that was kind of my way of honoring them, that like even like the sins that we inherit from our parents are not our identity. And it's up to us as children, like, to change that, right? Like you could say even like let's say there's like a hardcore racist, right? And he has a kid and that kid ends up marrying someone that is like Mexican or outside of their race, you know what I'm saying? And even though that guy was racist, he was really like deep down inside, he was trying to change. He really wanted to change. And you see that in his kid, and his kid became that change. And he may not even agree with what his kid does. He may not agree with his kid's choices, but his kid was the change that he really deep down inside wanted to always see in himself. And so I think that that's what I am for my parents, and that's what Blood in the Water was about. that I was going to be like, I did see my mom die. I watched her die, and I remember sitting at the foot of her bed and thinking to myself, like, I was ready to cry, and then I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm gonna keep it together because she wouldn't have wanted that. She wouldn't, because you knew early on in her life, like you could already tell like the path that she was on. She stayed on the path she was on. She
Mhm.
was gonna die early on, and so we all had to kind of prepare ourselves, and our family had to prepare ourselves for that at some point. And sure enough, that's what happened. And I didn't, so I couldn't cry. It was like, that's why I said that I couldn't cry on the day she died. She couldn't stand the tears. And then
Mhm.
for my dad, it's like, I shed a tear, but you know, I couldn't pray for him though. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know him well enough to say, "Oh my God, like I miss this man." But like I felt the feeling of loss, but
Right.
without the attachment. And so those were the stories that I was telling based on how I felt about my parents. How they affected me, but also how I would become the beauty that the world never got to see in them. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
became this thing. They created this child that was not just a change, but stood for something that they couldn't see in themselves. And here I am, the full embodiment of both of them and their parents and their parents. So that's what Blood in the Water is about. It's about, creating a new for yourself.
You can definitely hear the emotion and personality in the lyrics, but I also feel like you can really hear it in the guitar too. So like, when you go into the little guitar solos, it just really adds on to the emotion. So I'm just curious, when you're writing, do you write the lyrics first? Do you write the music part?
But because I write music, I don't feel like I'm ever you know, confined to one or the other, right? Like
Mhm.
I can write from this space or this space or this space or this. It doesn't really matter. But I don't really focus on that so much. For that particular song though, it was more the instrumentation kind of led the lyrics, and
Okay.
that's kind of how it all came together. And I'm writing with songwriters too, so they also bring something to the table as well.
And I don't know if you're coming back to the festival with the same band you did last time.
A little slightly
Um,
different, but yeah.
well, slightly different, but
Mhm.
I'm sure they're gonna have the same energy. I know in 2022, like the energy on stage was just electric with all of you. How do you put your band together and kind of like work on that stage chemistry?
I think that's just repetition, and and a pride, especially. We're all African Americans that come from similar backgrounds and have similar stories, to tell about being Americans, and
Mhm.
I think there's a pride that comes in that sound and in that representation. I think that's in a swagger. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how we've always done it in our culture. It's always we always do it, and we do it. It may not be with a smile on our face, but we're gonna make that bitch look good. So
Yeah.
that's how we do it. We always get up there with that in mind. Like we're up here representing our culture as well as the music. And so I don't know, man. That's how it comes out. It comes out with a swagger to it.
I like it. Does anyone in your live band help you with recording?
In the
Truly.
past, they have. In the
Okay.
past, they have. This last record for me was more of a solo project than the other ones have been. There was definitely a few songs on the first record, our first big one that was more band oriented. But that was because we took those songs from the past and brought them forward with some of the
Mhm.
same instrumentations, and we re-recorded some things over the top. So I think for me, it's always been, I would love to see them get on this next record though. I'd love to see them try to like get together and do some more band oriented stuff on the next
Mhm.
record I'm working on. But we'll see how it all plays out, man. Like I said, there's a lot of moves happening right now. A lot of
Right.
stuff I can't go public about just yet, but other things happening that are kind of shaping up what the future looks like right now. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just have two more questions for you, and
Sure.
they're a little more on the fun side.
Sure.
I saw your video yesterday. Your Facebook has been hacked.
Hell yeah. What the fuck?
I saw that.
Sucks, man.
Went to go look at the videos. Very interesting.
Sucks.
So, if you happen to get access to the hackers' Facebook page, what would you post on their page?
Dicks. Lots and lots of penises everywhere. No, I don't know what I would post, dude. No,
Fair.
I don't know. I say penises like it's so funny. No, I don't know, man. What's funny is like the hacker, like they've been posting like so many videos are interesting, dog. I'm like, oh, damn, I didn't even know you could do that.
I know you
You know,
you
so
posted about it. I'm like, "Oh god, what are they posting?" And I went to go look and they're like The silliest
Just
videos.
the goofiest videos, and that's why it's like I'm not super angry about it, and it's not hurting me in any way. If and honestly, it's funny because like better or worse, I don't know what's happening with the account, but it's grown
Mhm.
my account by like 14,000 people in a week, and I'm like, oh, that's not terrible, right?
Yeah, it's not
You
the
know,
worst thing.
yeah. So I don't know what kind of accounts these are, if they're spam or bot accounts or what, who knows? But like it's been
Yeah.
growing my account for me, and I'm like, oh, it's not a bad thing, right? I don't know, So what would I post though, man? I don't know, man. I don't know. I probably post a bunch of ultimate frisbee stuff just to be cheeky. just real boring, lame, not
That kind
childish.
of plays into the last one. Someone wanted me to ask about your time playing Frisbee in the 2004 World Championship. I know nothing about this,
Sure.
so I'd love to
Oh,
hear how
word.
this
Yeah.
came to be.
Yeah. I was so I was really good at ultimate frisbee when I was a kid. I got really, really, really good because in Seattle it's like a really hotbed here for frisbee. A lot of kids that there's some East Coast connection to how it ended up over here, but in Seattle it like became this really big sport because Seattle is such a like a outdoorsy place anyways, and it's an athletic place. So these guys get out here. It's all like the rejects from the basketball teams and like the junior
Mhm.
varsity guys who are super athletic but maybe couldn't make the basketball team go play frisbee, and that's kind of how I was. I played ultimate frisbee and got really good at it. I ended up playing on the 2004 World Championship team, which is a great experience. Fun fact is I actually also played that team was also had a cat named Sean Foreman on it, and Sean actually goes by Sugar, and he is one of the band members in 303.
Oh,
So him
nice.
and I played, yeah, we played on the same ultimate frisbee team together back in 2004. It was a beautiful experience. I got to see Finland, Turku, Finland. I got to hang out, and I don't know, man, it was wonderful. I mean, there was a good time being spent at that time, just being a kid and being able to travel and do all that. It was really wonderful. I had a great time, but
Yeah.
I guess for me,
Maybe
it was a lifetime ago.
2004 was
It was a
quite a
lifetime.
bit ago.
I'm still hella good at frisbee though. I could probably like I'll see when I see it up people. I'll bring a frisbee with me. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Maybe we should set up some ultimate frisbee artist tournament or something.
Don't
That
do that. I would destroy everyone. No, for real, man. It's and ultimate's fun, man. It's been a cool sport. I was talking to my daughter today about it, and she said she wants to like start getting into it. She plays soccer now, but it was a fun sport, man. It taught me a lot about just people in general and having the importance of having a community more than anything. More than
Yeah,
anything. Definitely determination. I could tell you the whole grand story about determination and time and how you just need to apply yourself if you want to see greatness happen. That's all great and fine, but I think more than anything, I created lifetime friends and
mm,
lifetime family doing that, and people I'll never forget. And to this day, I look at them and feel like they are, a part of my life and culture, man. I love them.
that's awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, man.
Well, that wraps up all our questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much for chatting with us.